I like writing for chamber music, but my calling is for the orchestra, it is for opera, it is for oratorio, it is for chorus, it's for the big ensemble. Helpisontheway for Orchestra is my first orchestral work. It's a symphony, and I'm trying to get it performed this June 2024, at the very least in this lifetime. Welcome back, everyone. I have so much to share. If you've been following us on the Instagram or the other YouTube channel, you have seen a lot of activity. So in this video, I'll be giving you a summary of everything. Before we get there, I just want to mention that we have our Harmony for the General Public series, in which I explain what is harmony, but in layman's terms, using my own music. If you're someone that has an interest in music, well, first of all, why would you not have an interest in music? But if you're someone who has wanted to learn more about music, wanted to study formally, never had the opportunity, maybe study formally for a little bit, sang in a choir, and you want to just have a good understanding of music, then that might be a good series. I have filmed and edited a couple of videos, I think. I haven't had the time to release them, so look out for that. If you feel like you are a little bit rusty, then you may want to watch our previous videos from Harmony for the General Public. And we also have what the FUGUE for the general public, in which I explain what is a fugue. It's so amazing. And I show the fugues I'm working on. One of them will be complete very soon. So I'm super excited about that. So you may want to brush up as well, because I will be releasing a new video very soon for what the fugue. Okay, so much to cover. Let me just mention the topics that we'll have. We'll talk about the Instagram, we'll talk about the YouTube channel, the goals. I will evaluate the goals I set for this week and whether or not they were successfully met. I'll talk about an interview I had this week about Helpisontheway. I will talk about the 3 orchestras I contacted, and I will mention a milestone, huge milestone, as well as some feedback and some gains and the big news. Okay? So we have an Instagram. We have 2 Instagrams. We have the official channel and we have the Helpisontheway channel. Okay? I understand many people don't like using social media. I applaud that, but for us, it is necessary to talk about it. Instagram is going really well. A lot of people are joining. A lot of people are following, people I've never met. It's just a very positive place and a very quick way to spread information. So I'll continue using Instagram. We also have a YouTube channel. Okay. Now, one thing about the Instagram I should mention, for the Helpisontheway Instagram, I will be posting about 3 to 5 times per day. Okay, unless I get exhausted, which often happens. But if you just want like 1 update a day or 2, then if you follow us on the official channel, you'll probably only get that, because on the official channel, I talk about other music, how I compose other stuff. So you'll have multiple updates, but it won't all be about Helpisontheway, as you like. We have a new YouTube channel, which is called Helpisontheway _for_orchestra. Let me do it again. Helpisontheway _for_orchestra. And that channel will be devoted just to Helpisontheway. We already have 1 video up. I think it's called Why I Stopped Applying to Competitions. And I'll be giving a lot more information about my philosophy, how I composed Helpisontheway, why it took me 7 years, why I had to move to Paris, France, the passages I really love. Maybe I'll talk about a passage I'm not sure about. No, I would never. But nevertheless, it's, if you want to kind of these, a video style, sit down video, longer length content about Helpisontheway, check that out. I still want this official channel to be more about all the pieces and about all the ideas. I don't want to become too focused on Helpisontheway, though Helpisontheway is really, really important. Something I should mention, I talked about this on the Helpisontheway video channel. There is actually a necessity to have this programmed as soon as possible, not just because people want to hear it, the composer wants to hear it, you want to hear it, we all want to hear it, but I'm going to be limited very soon if I don't have a recording, I don't have the experience of what it sounds like, because I'm composing operas. And of course, Salambo is my opera ballet. It's going to be quite difficult to go to a ballet company and propose a collaboration if they don't have some recording of, a big work. The chamber works I have are excellent, but it's, I can't expect, a choreographer to kind of imagine what I might write for unless I have a symphony or something of that nature. So I'm feeling more and more that the time to strike is now, which we'll get to at the end. I have a huge goal for spring. Weather's looking nice here in Jersey at the moment. I would like to evaluate the goals I set. Here we go. So if you watch this on the Instagram, I announced what my goals for the week were. I think I called it the action plan, but here's what they were. Okay, and we're Sunday now. Email 3 to 5 New Jersey youth orchestras. Email New Jersey Honors Orchestra. It's like a region orchestra you have to audition for, which I participated in, I think, as tuba, maybe just a band, but still email them and make 3 to 5 videos on YouTube for Help Us on the Way, simple light editing. Okay. I emailed 3 orchestras, okay, which we're going to talk about towards the end of this video, and that took about 2 hours, okay? The other goals I did not achieve, except I did create one 20-minute video for the Help Us on the Way channel. Why did I not complete the goals? To be honest, the goals were too ambitious, okay? Because if you saw the last video on this channel about Help Us on the Way, I only have about 20-30 minutes a day to actually, really do an action for Help Us on the Way, like an email, a call. Otherwise, I have to compose, I have to work, okay? And that's, you can't put those things on hold. Lord have mercy, okay? That's about survival. So as the week was progressing, I wasn't getting enough done for Help Us on the Way. I keep promoting it throughout on the Instagram throughout the day. That's much more time consuming than I would have anticipated. But I wasn't able to do an action. So finally, you saw on Wednesday, I devoted 2 hours. Okay, bam, you got to get something huge done, which we'll talk about at the end. But what this has come to realize is this, these goals were too high. It was just unrealistic. And I have that problem is that I set goals that are just too far out. I hesitate to kind of lower the bar because I'm worried, well, what if I don't reach that goal either? And, I think sometimes it's better to shoot for the stars and then you see what you get. But what we got, as I'll talk about, is very good. Okay, so very good results. I had an interview today. If you've been following the social media, I contacted my local newspaper in Central Jersey a couple of weeks ago, I think. I was starting to get pessimistic because they had said, okay, we're going to get in touch with you, and then they didn't seem to. To be honest, something I have to learn is to be not necessarily more patient, but to understand what is the delay time for certain things, right? If you email your bank, I would expect a response the next day. But when you email a local newspaper, I don't know how long to expect. So here, about a month, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. The interview went super, super well. Let me just look at my notes. She asked about how my hometown shaped me, which I was expecting, and I had lots of good things to say. I think it's important to promote the community, to start from local. I talked about my musical journey. She asked about what got you into music. This is helpful because I didn't know what to do or what to expect. And so it's giving me insight to what are the questions that a newspaper is going to be interested in, okay, which would be different from other musicians. One thing I need to work on is my communication because she asked why I want to move to Paris, France, and I just didn't know how to articulate it. I went to get more training. I went to get harmony, counterpoint, fugue training, orchestration, but those are terms that most people don't know. So I need to, and I tried to explain, give analogies, but she was confused, and it was because of my communication. So no biggie, something you learn as you go. I also noticed I need to get better at clearer responses. I tend to ramble a little bit as a composer talking about my work. So again, these are just things you learn as you go, okay? So interview went really well. And as you saw, something really nice is I mentioned that I'm working on an opera, and then she put me in touch with someone who started an opera company here in Jersey, which I wasn't expecting. So that's a nice little benefit. Now I'd like to talk about the 3 orchestras that I did contact. I thought this would take less time than it did, and you think, okay, it's just to send an email. But here's how it goes. You got to get to the website. Okay, that's not too long. Okay, then you got to figure out who's the director. Doesn't take too long. Then you got to get the director's email address. That takes a long time, and a time you won't find it. Okay, sometimes you have to figure out what the general email is, and then see what is the format they use for people. Like, is it first name, last initial? How does it work? A lot of times you don't know. Okay, there's not even a model. I also called some of these organizations. In one, I called them and I found out that they don't actually have a home space. They rent space, so I end up calling the rental company. So what I'm coming to see with these youth orchestras is a lot of them are not full-time. The conductors have other jobs. There's not a full-time staff, so that's something to really keep in mind. Let me just go through my notes. I have actions that I want to take going forward. So for one of them, I want to get in touch with the conductor through the Instagram possibly, or find her personal website, her conducting website. A lot of them that's the next action point. I also contacted an executive director, which we'll talk about at the end. So those are new action points. I think in general, my strategy now is I've put the official in writing, emailed, okay, this is who I am, this is what I'm offering, my symphony. And now that is officially put down, I want to kind of put pressure from different angles, so start contacting people from the administrative team, start contacting the conductors through their personal conducting websites. But that's very time consuming, right? So I think that's kind of the next level I'll get to once I've contacted all the orchestras in this Central Jersey region. We have a new milestone. For the first time ever, someone has reached out to me on their own accord about Helpisontheway. They emailed me at my professional email address at Barney B Music and was interested in programming a movement or maybe multiple movements in their orchestra. I'm not sure what type of orchestra it is. I don't know if it's a high school orchestra or a community orchestra. I'm not sure. They may be a musician in the orchestra, but they showed an interest, so I responded. So, you can't put all your eggs in one basket, but what we're seeing is there is a growing demand for Helpisontheway, and I think that's coming principally from this kind of activism, shall you say, kind of taking the mouthpiece and taking it to the people. Okay, if we remember from the first video I did a couple of weeks ago when I was kind of devastated that I hadn't won the competition, my strategy was to scream about Helpisontheway, professionally that is, and to take it to the people. That's kind of what it is. You take the case to the people, and if enough people are interested in Helpisontheway, it's going to be hard for an orchestra to say no. Because if we have, for example, let's imagine we had 10,000 followers on the Helpisontheway for orchestra Instagram, well, then I could go to these orchestras and say, well, we have 10,000 people. Now, will they all go to the concert? Probably not. They probably all can't. They don't live in the area. But there is something we can bargain with, and we can say, hey, there is demand. I can point to concrete data, right? So the fact that this person reached out, that is showing something, okay? It's showing that things are trending in the right direction. Will they stay that way? We don't know, but it is good news. I want to address some common feedback I'm getting from people. I would like to develop this into longer videos on the Helpisontheway for Orchestra YouTube channel. So look out for that in the future. But a lot of people are asking for the MIDI. A MIDI is an electronic recording. I've discussed this many times, but I'll keep discussing it because new people join. I do not like the sound of MIDI. I think it is very anti-musical. When I hear my work on MIDI in the electronic, the sample, it sounds really, really bad, and it gives a bad impression. If you were to play Beethoven's music in MIDI, it would also sound really bad. I think there's certain music that sounds good in MIDI, but that's music made for the MIDI. So, if you're writing something and you're listening using the electronics there, then you're going to adapt it. But this is the music of kings and queens, of course. Helpisontheway. It's the music of kings and queens. This is the music that Marie Antoinette was commissioned and would have recognized as being worthy of her financing. Okay, so this is music created completely from scratch. It's completely from scratch. Okay, so the MIDI is a no-go for now. However, many people feel otherwise, so keep up the pressure if you really think that MIDI could help. But I just don't see it. Another feedback is people are suggesting that I go a little bit smaller. Like, why don't you start writing for chamber music, and then you'll meet musicians that way, and then you build. I have a couple of thoughts on this. I think not everyone knows me, because it's so new. They just joined the channel. But I already have the masters. I already did the time. I already wrote lots of chamber music, had lots of performances. Have some performances in Paris, France. I like writing for chamber music, but my calling is for the orchestra, it is for opera, it is for oratorio, it is for chorus, it's for the big ensemble. So it's just not what I feel like my calling is. Plus, I already have the symphony composed, so we got to fight to get it out there. I do think something you can extract from this is the central idea of going smaller, which we see I'm doing right. I contacted the local newspaper. Once that story comes out, if she publishes it, then it'll be easier for me to contact the next level up, right? The regional newspaper, and boom, boom, boom. Before you know it, we'll get to the New York Times, okay? Whatever, Washington Post, whatever the top, or Le Monde in Paris, France. Though I prefer Le Figaro. But whatever. The point is starting smaller, okay? Now, I will say I have some smaller chamber music for Salembo, okay, because Salembo is a huge project, so I will be composing more of that and then broadcasting it and then hopefully meeting people that way. So I do think this idea of starting smaller, going smaller, has validity, okay, to a certain extent. But at the end of the day, I'm 36 now. I'm at a professional level. Anyone can see that. You could purchase a score off the website for Help Is On The Way. There's no need to strike so small. Okay, I think the time is now. Okay, I'm just going to reorder what I was going to talk about. I wanted to talk about the big win, but I'll save it for the very end, so there's a clear logic to the construction. So we have some gains, okay? So doing all the research with these orchestras, and again, it took me 3 hours to contact. It took me 2 hours to contact 3 orchestras because I had to call, it just takes a lot of time. Okay, a lot of time. And I like to proofread, make sure things are looking good. So some of the gains is when I was looking at the composer biographies, they mentioned other orchestras in Jersey. I talked about this on one of my Instagrams. And so I will now be adding these orchestras to my future action plans. I didn't know about some of these orchestras. Okay, this is very nice. Also, there's administrative teams that support these orchestras. So like I said earlier, I will be contacting them, not in the first round, but in future rounds. Okay, so the point is we're seeing lots of areas of pressure to kind of contact them here, contact them here, contact here. Oh, I contacted the conductor on this, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And including the executive director, which we're going to get to. You know what I'm talking about if you watch this on either of the Instagrams, okay, for the official channel or Help Us On The Way. Okay, really exciting. I want to talk about my spring goal, okay, but maybe let's first talk about the first win. So something really awesome that happened is for the first time ever, an orchestra has responded to my email, okay? Been very hard to get people to respond. It could be just a fluke. It could just be the timing. It could be, you can't read into these things, okay? But they got back to me the same day. I responded the next day, and I said they had requested to see the score of Help Us On The Way, which I sent. I had to do some password protection. I sent that, and some samples of my work on YouTube, easy peasy, and that was done. Okay, I will probably wait a month before getting back to them, following up, but this is a good sign because there is some just basic interest, okay? It also shows that the way I'm communicating is effective. For example, one of the reasons it takes so long for me to contact these orchestras is I send an email from myself to myself, and I see what it looks like to receive it. And many times I don't like how the subject is, okay? The subject is really important. You have to have something sexy, something that's going to grab the attention, but is direct, it's going to kind of generate interest. And then, you get the proofread. You want the email to be very direct. You don't want unnecessary information. You have to kind of get them interested, like it's a programmatic work, doesn't sound that sexy, but it tells the story of a fall from, I don't know how I do it, but I'm learning all these things and it does take time, okay? So in this particular orchestra, I couldn't find the conductor's email, but they did have the executive director's email. Okay, so I emailed her requesting to be put in touch with him, and then she responded to me saying, I guess she had talked to him already, and with his email, what do you call it? He's CC'd. Okay, so what that shows me, and I'd already been planning of contacting executive directors, is maybe I got to start going towards executive directors, because think about it, they might have different ideas. The conductors are probably very busy. They probably work part-time. They definitely work part-time in the orchestra, so their head may not be in the right place. But if the executive director, that might be a full-time position, they might have more time. They might be seeing things from a different perspective. Yeah, we have a great story, we can say, a Jersey composer, born and raised, went to Paris, came back, he composed a symphony, we'll have the world premiere. I think they might have a different headspace, so I will definitely integrate this into my action plans, is trying to get the executive director first go around. One new piece of information, a couple of people have been suggesting what I can do. Someone mentioned also contacting high school orchestras. Someone mentioned college orchestras, which already I was planning to do, but some high school orchestras are at a good enough level and probably have more time. I'm also thinking, I feel like concerts are often in May, but the school year goes to June in Jersey, so that might be an opportunity for Help Us on the Way, because I do want to perform this June, maybe even a reading. And finally, my spring goal, I think now is the time to strike. I think now is the time to email lots of places, because come summer, people are going to be on vacation, not going to be able to do anything. So at least get the idea in their head. If the email is sent out there, the idea is germinating. So my goal now for the spring is to contact all New Jersey orchestras, youth, community, and university, plus whatever high school ones I can do. I'll probably stick to the Central Jersey region for now and expand outward. And again, sometimes I'm too ambitious, but I think you gotta go high.